Let's get started.
Welcome to the Financial Purpose Podcast. All opinions expressed by me or guests of the podcast are solely our own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Life Moves Wealth Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any investment decisions. Clients of Life Moves Wealth Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. Hey, welcome back to the Financial Purpose Podcast. I am your host, Dale Shaffer. This is episode 84. So I was getting away from the window. I wasn't sure what was going on. Okay, we're recording. We're live in action. We're good to go. All right, and we're back. And today for this episode, I have a guest that I'm excited about. John, we've been working on pulling this together for a couple of months, I think. So John Morris is with me. He's the owner of PHP Commercial Painting, author of a book that was just released 10 minutes early. I love the subtitle, How I Earned a Life No One Gave Me. So we're going to talk a bit about that and some other things, podcaster extraordinaire. So John, why don't you take a minute or two, introduce yourself to the listeners?
Sure. So my name is John Morris. I started this company years ago out of my garage with a couple painters. And it's now blown into a multimillion-dollar paint company doing commercial in the state of Arizona instead of residential like we started. I also have a podcast, Workforce Skills with John Morris. It's on YouTube. Every platform out there, drops every Thursday morning.
It's a great podcast, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's been an exciting thing. I think I just finished episode 66, I think. So I'm a little bit behind you right now.
Yeah, but you're beginning fast. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
No.
So, John, I figured, I've got a couple things. I read your book recently on some travel, and I have many underlines, many pages dog-eared, but I'm going to pull out just a few because otherwise this would be like a 3-hour podcast. So
no problem.
We'll see where this goes. But I want to start actually with an experience that I recently had with you and your employees on Saturday. So just a couple days ago. And my friend, Sarah Van Hoos from Journey to Influence, which, by the way, Sarah is an excellent rock star financial coach, and she's Ramsey certified, and she knows her stuff. So she is very good at helping people think about their budgets, think about how they cash flow, really organize their expenses, start to create free cash flow, which we talk a lot about on this podcast, to start wealth building and that kind of thing. So Sarah Van Hoos, Journey to Influence, definitely reach out to her. She's great. So she came down from Portland, Oregon, and to help lead this financial literacy workshop, and really was just kind of budgeting 101, and she did a great job. But I noticed something about your people because I was here a few minutes early because I read your book. So 10 minutes early, right, is your thing. And we'll explain what that means to you. But I was here early. I got to stand in the back of the room and listen to the conversation kind of as a fly on the wall. And I think it's really interesting. My takeaway from that is the openness of the conversation that was happening. And I kind of feel like it's one thing to read about people who are leading a company well and creating other leaders, but it's quite another thing to see that actually happening in real time. So explain to the listeners what I observed.
It's interesting when you look at it, it comes so natural for me. So it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just a natural thing. It's organically happened since day one. And one of the things with me and the way I've run this company is I've learned I will never hire outside the company for higher up positions. I'm never going to hire superintendents, estimators, project managers outside the company. We grow within the company.
Yeah.
So if we grow them from the very beginning on up, it's just a natural process for the guys and girls that work for me. But as far as the openness and the conversations, that's just who we are. All these men and women that work for me have come out of prison. They come off the streets, out of drug rehabs. Those are the people that are my best employees. That's the majority of my company.
Yeah.
98% of my company all has been incarcerated at one time or another. And they are the best workers I've ever had. And it started with giving them a chance. They just needed somebody to believe in them that could, hey, you can do this, and give them that opportunity.
Yeah. And that's definitely a fascinating thing for me to watch how you run the company, because I've been around your company for a couple months now. Mm-hmm. I've interacted with probably 20 or so of your employees in different interactions and quite a few on Saturday as well. They're not what you would expect.
No. You expect a hardened criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that.
Yeah. Or at least maybe not a hardened criminal, but you just expect, I don't know, like a certain, maybe not hardened, but just somebody who
attitude
or just, trying to figure things out. And most of that is it's not their fault. It's just they've had hard lives. Recidivism rate is relatively high still in this country. And so, you would expect some of those people to be here, but then to disappear one day and they're, why aren't they coming to work on Monday? Well, because they're back in behind bars or something. So, but that hasn't been your experience.
Well, it has a little bit. So I would say for every one that you've met, there's 20 to 30 more that didn't make it with me.
Okay.
So there is a percentage, but that doesn't mean that they're not doing well out there. This stepping stone of my company, of where they were at in their journey, just wasn't the best fit. Yes, there are ones that are back in prison. There are some that are dead today because of drugs on the street and going back to that old lifestyle. I focus on the ones that are in front of me that want something more.
Yeah.
As long as they're doing it for themselves, as long as they're working to better themselves, I'm going to be their biggest ally. I'm going to be their biggest cheering section. But the second they give up on themselves, that's the point where I step back and I say, okay, I'm out. You got to go figure this out. So the ones that you've met, those are the rock stars. Those are the ones that they are doing anything and everything to better their lives because they don't want to go backwards. They see the future. They see that they can have something better. They see that they can get promoted in this company. They can drive a company truck. They can have their own apartment. It takes time, and it's funny because some of the guys want it too fast.
Yeah.
I think some of the guys come out and they say, oh, I got to make up for lost time. I'm going to go. I had one guy, he went through 3 vehicles in a year trying to get a nicer, better vehicle and kept destroying them. And then he wanted to go play golf every weekend and want to go skiing during the wintertime and spend all his money. And he had no money. He just kept wasting it. He wasn't investing it. That's why reaching out to you and having you guys help out was a huge advantage for us.
Yeah.
To teach these guys. They don't understand credit. Some of them don't even know how to do a checkbook and balance.
Sure.
And that's where we're trying to change that and get them to the level they need to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely interesting because there was definitely a mix of knowledge in the room. And I'll tell you, Sarah, because we went to lunch with my wife after that session, and Sarah said there was probably the most engaging audience and open audience that she's ever had because it wasn't a presentation. It was very much a conversation around the entire room. Every person in that room
was engaged
and participating, and it was really fascinating. But I want to go back to something you just said because you said you're willing to give them a chance. There's something there's a lot of things in your book that jumped out at me. I've got a lot of, like I said, underlines and dog ears and that kind of thing. But one thing in particular, I want to read from this page, whatever page it is.
And first of all, let me say something. This is my very first book. I've never done this. I didn't know I had to number the pages.
No.
So I did my own publishing and everything. So
no, it's good. It's good. This is a very good book, by the way. You can get it on Amazon. That's where I got this. So, yep, 10 minutes early, John Morris. There's the cover. Go buy it. But here's what it said here. So, okay. If we don't step up and create opportunities for people who want better, who will? If you don't step up, who will? That's why I do this, not just to run a business, to change lives. I don't just hire employees, I build opportunities. I love that line. If I give a man a reason to wake up early, to put in the work, to take pride in something bigger than himself, I give him a place where he's valued for what he can do, not just judged for what he has done. And when you give a man a purpose, when you show him that he's worth more than his past, that's when real transformation happens. And I don't know if you get enough credit outside of this organization for taking the chance to give these guys the opportunity. So as the leader of a business, owner of a business, you can have employees come, employees go. You can just hire people based on their applications and whatever, but you have a very specific process for how you find people and how you get them into the organization and beyond just giving them a paintbrush and showing them how to back roll and things like that. So talk about how you got to the point where this was the type of people that you wanted to work with.
It's interesting. I never realized this was the type of people I wanted to work with in the beginning. I needed employees. I was trying to find a fix for the company. We were struggling. We were growing. I didn't know where to look. It was a battle. And so I started looking at my top 2, 3 employees at the time, and their parole officers were calling in, checking on them, making sure they're showing up to work. I'm like, okay, well, let me find a couple more of these guys. This is a direction we should be going. And so down at the Department of Corrections, the probation office, we put a couple flyers, did a few things. And there's a place down here in Phoenix called New Freedom, and they had just opened up right before COVID. I think they have 30 people staying there. It's at a hotel that can house 400 men and women at a time. Mm-hmm. And it's basically a behavioral health facility. And at the time, they were fairly new. They had 30 people there, and they had found a flyer. They brought somebody in. And I didn't realize at the time, but all they were helping was people coming out of prison, getting back on track. They'd go there, live there for 90 days, get them mentally right, help them find jobs, help them get their birth certificates, driver's licenses, whatever it took to get back out there into society. And this first guy came in, and one of the people from the facility brought him. And we talked to him. And I said, well, what if we come in on a weekend, give us 5 to 10 people. We'll see if they can brush, roll. We'll teach them a little bit about painting. I was starting to see a fix for the company. He said, no, we can't do that. We're not ready for you. Fast forward 2 years later, all of a sudden I get a call and they say, hey, we're ready to have that class with you. I'm like, who are you? I forgot all about it. Didn't even realize what they were doing. Well, this time now they have 400 people in there.
Oh my goodness.
They were at full capacity.
Yeah.
And they were ready to do something. And so I went and visited the facility. I checked it out. I saw hunger in these people. I saw something in their eyes. These men and women wanted something more. They wanted an opportunity. They were trying to do something better for themselves. And so I said, okay, you know what? We'll do something. They said, well, we want to do a class. We want to give you 20 to 25 people. I'm like, oh crap, what are we getting into?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, 3 months later, it took me about 3 months. I had to write a curriculum, had to get approved through the insurance company, through the state of Arizona. Went in there and they eventually approved it after going back and forth a little bit. The struggle with it was getting it done and getting in there. What am I teaching these men and women? Because of the insurance side of it, there had to be some behavioral health stuff. So that's where the life skills started. That's where I started going in there. I'm thinking, how do I teach someone to be a good employee?
Yeah.
How do I teach them to come to work, show up, put out 10 minutes early, just show up? And so that's where it started. It started with these men and women in that first class, and it just grew from there to where a year later, we not only had a painting vocational class, so we would do the life skills every Tuesday and Wednesday night from 6 to 8. They would show up in class. Saturdays and Sundays was hands-on painting. We'd do it at the facility. It was a hotel they were living in. Mm-hmm. And so after about a year, we not only had painting, we had culinary, we had electrical, we had flooring, we had framing and drywall, CDL. I mean, this thing blew up.
Yeah.
And so every Tuesday and Wednesday night now, I'm teaching 125 to 150 people in a ballroom in a hotel how to be a good employee, life skills. And it just started snowballing from there and growing. And it's become a passion. It got too much for me at one point where I had to step back. I'm now back there again teaching. The classes are Monday and Tuesday night. I don't do the Saturdays and Sundays anymore.
Yeah.
It's too difficult, too many hours running a business. But that's where this all started, and it just grew from there.
Yeah,
and just kept going.
It's interesting because I know that you're currently taking your leadership team through John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And guys, this is literally, they're reading a chapter a week.
Yes.
They're discussing it as a leadership team around their table as a part of their leadership meetings. Mm-hmm. So you're spending, in this case, you're spending half the year with John Maxwell teaching your team.
Yes.
Which is impressive. So you're doing this because obviously you believe that leadership is a responsibility, not a title. That's in your book also. And so talk to me a little bit about kind of how you got to the point and why you believe it's important to work, not only the blocking and tackling of making the business run and run profitably. There's a lot of magic in helping your employees understand what it means to run the business profitably. Mm-hmm. And that's an art of leadership. So how do you address the difference between leadership is where we're working on the individual and managing is where we're taking care of the task at hand? Talk to me about that difference in your company.
There's a fine balance between those two. It's building them from the ground up. So everybody that comes in a company starts as just a helper.
Mm-hmm.
So there's phases through this. In order for them to move up to the next step, we have a process. And if you go into the other room, our conference room, on the wall, it says, here's what you need to be as a painter's helper to move up to a crew lead. Here's what you have to do as a crew lead to move up to a foreman, superintendent, project manager. So they know the steps starting out. So we put the goals in front of them. The one thing we do with every employee that comes on board, especially the ones that come out of incarceration, is we give them a mentor. And that's somebody that's already came before them, that now is starting to lead them. They've already done the process. They've already gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
Now they understand what it's like. So they're now leading. When it comes to running these jobs and what they do, it's nobody knows what they can do until they are given the opportunity and they just try it. I remember as a kid, you sink or swim. You get out there and you jump in the water. You're either going to sink or you're going to swim. You're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so we don't want that to be the case with our employees. We want to guide them the right way. Yeah, they're going to make mistakes, but we're going to help pick them up at the same time. The fact that we only grow within a company creates a situation to where it drives them to want something more. I'm going to tell you right now, the guys working for me, you have never seen this type of mentality, this type of attitude. It's a grind. It's a beast mode. It's something completely different.
Yeah.
Because no one's given them the chance. So they're going to work 10 times as hard for this than anybody else at this point. And I think that's what helps with the leadership side of it. And I saw a need for more than just the life skills and teaching them as they get into the leadership positions. Now they're part of our book club per se.
Sure.
And that's where the John C. Maxwell books come in. Another great one is, Mark Manson's, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I love that book.
Sorry, but it's a great book.
Yeah.
We've read that one and the guys love it. So what we do is we do a chapter a week. And then every Tuesday we have a logistics meeting. We talk about the jobs, everything going on. But part of that meeting is about that chapter. Mm-hmm. And I come up with a couple questions, topic questions, and we go around the room and each person in the room gets to talk about something in that chapter and how it meant to them and what it was about based on the questions that I put in front of them. I've literally had some of these meetings with my guys where grown men break down crying with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's so emotional. And that's the change in a leader. When a leader can be vulnerable and be humble in front of everybody else, and that's where you become a better leader. That's where the guys respect you more. Oh my God, the boss is crying. He's humble. He's sharing his story.
A lot of trust.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Now, there's been a couple times where it's kind of bitten back a little bit and there's people that will take advantage of it. But if I focus on the good and what's come out of it, it's worth every second. It really is.
Sure. Yeah. On that, you talk in your book about kind of the way that you framed it was, in your story, you were starting out, you were, trying to build a name for yourself. You were trying to get things going. So you would sneak out and cover of night and put up yard signs at intersections and things like that. And these weren't just like the flimsy little, plastic yard signs. You were like making them out of wood. Like you'd leaned up a piece of wood against your truck in one neighborhood and spray painted the number on it or something.
Where it started.
Yeah. And so you're then telling the story how that kind of ran a cycle through. And then eventually somebody called and they're like, yeah, my buddy gave me the number. They told me to call John the Painter. And so that's when you realized that became your brand.
Yes.
So as a part of leadership and a part of what I see you doing here and a part of what's in your book is you talk about your brand being your reputation. Mm-hmm. And that follows you everywhere you go. Yours became John the Painter. And that's shifted. And so all of the people in your company, through the way that you take them through your process and your program and build from within and have the leadership book club and all of that, you're teaching them, whether they know it or not, about building their brand. So tell me a little bit about how you see that playing out.
It's funny. I'm going to go back to a guy that works for me, Fred. And I remember I met him the first week he got out of prison and he was in one of my classes and he walked up to me after class and he looked me in the face, dead in the eye. And he goes, I think you're full of shit. I said, fair enough. Just keep coming back and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I've been true to myself is I haven't changed since the day he met me. If anything, I've gotten better. And it's funny because he still works for me. We're 3 years into this now. And he'll come up to me today and say, John, you're a man of your word. You've never changed. And that's how you build the brand. And if you can teach others to do the exact same thing, now the brand is PHP.
Yeah.
Everybody believes in PHP. You know, our Phoenix Birds, our logo. I've got about a dozen guys that work for me. And when you talk about prison guys covered in tattoos, I've got about a dozen of them now that have that brand tattooed on them.
That's amazing.
And it's pretty cool to see. They always ask permission first. They come up to me and say, "Hey, is it okay if I get this?" Yeah, you've been here long enough. You're going to be here for a while.
Nobody tattoos the logo of the company they work for on their body. Like nobody does that.
Nobody does that. That's ridiculous.
I've never seen a Coca-Cola tattoo. Just saying.
I hope not. That'd be kind of weird. No, but it's interesting because they believe in something bigger and better than themselves, and that's what a brand is.
Yeah,
the brand is something bigger than me. It's not my name anymore. It's not John the Painter.
Yeah,
it's something bigger. It's almost. I don't even know how to put my finger on it. It's not a name. It's not. It's a movement. The brand's the movement of what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And when I've got guys working for me that have been here for 2 to 3 years out of the same programs, and we're now bringing in new guys that just came out of the program, and they're now the ones mentoring them, it's taken a load off of me from having to do it with everybody. You can ask my wife. I'm a counselor. I'm a marriage coach. I'm anything and above.
Sure.
I'm a financial advisor with the guys. It's you name it.
Yeah.
It's doing everything to help them and being invested. I even became an ordained minister because I've actually married 4 people that work for me now. So it's awesome. It's crazy what you never know what life is going to put in front of you. It's just, and I think the whole brand thing is it's not a brand anymore. It's a movement is what it's become.
Mm-hmm.
And the movement is the brand and the brand is a movement. I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah, no, and I get it because the business itself, its brand is going to be a certain level of quality and expertise and things like that. I mean, you're running, you have 50 or so employees, you're running a multimillion-dollar business, so you're doing something right. And that's evident, but you inside of the company, because I've talked to some of your people, and I've seen, there's a couple of the guys that I know a little bit about their stories because we've had those conversations with them. And I see them working hard at what they're trying to accomplish. And that's because of your brand. So you have a brand of somebody who actually gives a shit about them and their life and where they're going to end up and where they're going. And not necessarily, I mean, yes, who they are today, but it seems like you care more about the person they're going to be 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Because who I was 10 years ago, I'm not the same person today.
Sure.
But if I could go back and see who I was going to be in 10 years, would I strive for that? Would I push for that? So we can see that. We know that. For some of these individuals, it's a little more difficult because what they saw in their future was just 4 walls and some bars in front of them.
Sure.
So they didn't have a vision. They didn't have something to look forward to. And it's interesting as I'm moving pieces within the company, and everything's a puzzle piece within the company that we're moving. And a lot of these men and women who work for me, they're part of that puzzle. They're part of the pieces. And I see something in them sometimes that they can't even see in themselves. And it's putting them in situations. It's funny as a lot of these individuals have moved up in positions are like, oh, you were playing us. You were using us. You knew what you were doing. You had a plan for us. There's a plan for every single one of them. It's just a question of how it's going to play out and can they do it for themselves?
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting watching them grow and become new individuals, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of John C. Maxwell, I mean, one of the things that I just remember and really, I don't know, I read this I don't know, I've been a John Maxwell guy for 20 something years. Right. So, and I had the chance to meet him once and it was, I don't know, like people get starstruck over like their favorite actor or rock star. Like I was just like, this is John Maxwell. I don't even know what to say right now. So, yeah, cause I'm a nerd. Anyway,
it's okay.
But Maxwell says, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Mm-hmm. And you know the way because you've done it. Mm-hmm. You built the company yourself, mm-hmm. painting
from the ground up
in your car with the broken window, right? All those things, right? And so you've gone the way, and now you're showing the way, and I think that's really commendable. I mean, because again, there's there's a lot of businesses who the goal is maximizing profit.
Mhm.
Your goal is maximizing people, which you and I know because we've had these conversations. You and I know that maximizing people maximizes profit.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, not the other way around. So
Yes.
one of the things in the name of the book I definitely want to get to is 10 minutes early. So for you,
Mhm.
you're only on time if you're 10 minutes early.
Yes.
You talk about time being leverage in the book. Explain to me that thought process.
So I think the problem is we don't realize how much time we have in a day or in a week.
Yeah.
And I don't think we utilize it to the best of our ability. For me, the whole thing with 10 minutes early started many, many years ago when I was much younger. And it has to do with the old style radios in a vehicle, and where you had to push the button in there to set the minutes and the hour.
Yeah.
Some people are probably too young to remember that. But I always had my clock 10 minutes fast. So I'd always be 10 minutes early. And it worked. And I just lived by that. I have an alarm clock sitting on my nightstand.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I was plugged in. I've had this alarm clock for over 30 years. I don't even know if it works anymore. I will never plug it in. It's a symbol of what I've been able to do for myself. It's funny. Me and my wife just moved a year ago. We've been in our new house for a year, and we were packing and moving. She goes, can we throw this away? Nope. We're not throwing that alarm clock away. That is my trophy. That's my symbol of what I've been able to accomplish for myself. And I think the thing is, we don't realize how much time we have on a day-to-day basis to better ourselves, to grow, to become something better. We waste so much time either just listening to music or sitting at home watching the news or doing something that serves no purpose in our life except to sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
And dumbify us down. I've always got an Audible book playing in my vehicle when we're driving. My wife, she's kind of forced to listen to them when she's with me. I've forced my employees, hey, you're riding with me. We're listening to this book. Here's what I got playing right now. We're always trying to educate ourselves and make ourselves better.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do something, I want to do it to the best of my ability. And I want to know all the information and educate myself. There's nothing I hate worse than sitting at home on a weekend. I got a Saturday and Sunday to do nothing and sit there and do nothing or watch TV. And what am I actually gaining from this?
Yeah.
You know, if I'm going to watch something on TV, History Channel, Discovery Channel, I want to learn something.
I love
I want
documentaries.
knowledge. And for me, it's like when I first started this vocational program, a lot of people don't realize this, but here I am running my business. I'm working 50, 60 hours a week. You know what it's like to run your own business. You put in more hours than anybody else.
Yeah. Trade a 9 to 5 for a 24/7.
Exactly. On top of that, starting the vocational, helping these men and women out, I'm now working every Tuesday and Wednesday from 6 to 8 at night. So I'd be at the office at 4:30 in the morning. I want to get home till 9 o'clock every Tuesday and Wednesday for a year straight. Every Saturday and Sunday, going to the facility, teaching hands-on. It was almost 1 year straight. I did not get a single day off. And people ask me how I did it. It was beast mode. I saw a vision. I saw something better. And if I'm not educating myself, I'm helping educate others. And in turn, I was actually educating myself and making myself a better person as I was growing through that.
Yeah. So you're talking about, excuse me, you're talking about beast mode. I have that, and I ran across that this morning when I was pulling this stuff out. So I may not be able to find it before I can ask the question, but you talked about, oh, there it is. Got right to the page. Okay. You talked about beast mode as a mentality. So tell me about beast mode for you. And then I'm going to ask a follow-up question.
Okay. So beast mode for me is doing more than anyone else can do, pushing yourself past the limits that you think that you can do. The theory that I have is the body can do anything it wants to. It's the mind you have to convince.
Yep.
And if you can convince your mind that you can do something, anything is possible. But I think the mind is weak sometimes. And that's where you have to constantly get yourself in that beast mode. You got to change your mentality. You got to constantly be grinding for something more. You know, it's interesting because I look at the shark, and I've heard that the shark always has to swim forward. If it stops or goes backwards, it dies, and it's always moving forward. So the shark's a beast of the ocean.
Yeah.
The lion's the king of the jungle. He's a beast out there, and he smells blood and he's going after it. You have to be in that mode all the time. And I'm not trying to make it gory and graphic by talking like that, but it's an animal mentality. It's a beast mentality that we have to step up to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've become too soft. I think just human nature. I think our life is too easy. We've become too soft. We're not willing to push ourselves to that next level. And but yet we want the reward without the risk, without paying the price. And it doesn't work that way.
Yep. Especially in this day and age when you can, just upload videos of yourself dancing on TikTok and, get 1 million followers and you can make money that way. Or you can post photos of your feet or other parts of your body and earn millions of dollars. And so you don't really have to work that hard because dumb people will give you their dumb money, right?
Yes.
So, but it's funny you're talking about the mental acuity, right? My friend Bud, so I have an accountability partner, actually came out of Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect, which might be a really good book for your group if you haven't read it yet. That book I read in 2011 or 2012 fundamentally changed my life. Like when anybody says, what are, the couple of books that changed your life, that's in the top 3 for sure. Maybe the top 2, but that book, he has what he calls a peak performance partner. And so it's where you have somebody who you do accountability with, and every week you meet, no fail. And it's you discuss a win, a loss, a fix, and an aha.
Okay.
And then you write them down and you hold each other accountable to what they said was, especially the loss and the fix. You celebrate the wins together, that kind of thing. And Bud lives in Chicago. So we've been doing this for 13, 14 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so Bud always reminds me of the quote. In fact, all my guys know that if we're going to do something on Saturday morning, it happens after 8:00 because at 7:00 I'm on the phone with Bud.
Okay.
So even when we're camping like that's in there. So, anyway, he reminds me of the quote, and I don't want to misattribute it. So I don't know if it's Zig Ziglar or, Tom Hopkins or something like that, but it's what the mind believes, the body achieves. And that is absolutely true, because if the mind believes that you can train and run successfully a marathon, you will do it. You will tell your body to do it. If your mind believes that you're going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix for the next 5 hours, your body's got to do that, and it'll justify, right? So it's amazing how so much of what we want to accomplish starts in the 6 inches, right here. Yeah. So beast mode, you're talking about that. But there's a caveat to beast mode, because you also say that a beast that never stops eventually collapses.
It does. And I did.
And it's rule number 7, take time to recharge. Even a beast needs rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I had a point after that first year that, no, my blood pressure was through the roof. I ended up in the hospital, had a few complications. I pushed myself to a limit that, I realized we can break.
Yep.
We can't push ourselves too hard. But we have to know our limits, but how do you know your limits if you don't push yourself? You don't know where you're going to break unless you actually break.
Yep.
I had a situation a few months ago back in, January, February, and I felt like, I'm not a religious person, but I felt like the universe was against me. I felt like I was getting punched in the gut. Everything here at work was going wrong. Nothing was going right. I couldn't sleep. Just everything was going nuts. And so I'm always in bed in the evening about 7:15. I'm at work at 4:30 in the morning. And I woke up around 9:30 and I'm wide awake. I couldn't sleep. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to get up. I'm going to walk to work. I don't know what time I'm going to get there. I'm just going to walk because I'm going to push back on the universe. Things aren't going right. I was having problems with a couple of GCs that weren't paying me at the time.
Yeah.
And we were struggling. Just everything was going sideways. And I thought, you know what? This is my way to punch back. And I don't know if I can do this. I don't know how far I can go. From where I live to work is 21.2 miles. Well, I made it about 16 and a half miles and had my wife pick me up. So I learned what my breaking point was. But
It's a long walk.
But you don't know what you can do until you push yourself. And I'm always going to push myself, and I'm going to push myself harder than anybody else will, because no one's going to push you except for you. I look at it this way. I want more out of life. I don't want anybody to dictate to me where I'm going to live, where I can eat, where I can go on vacations. I want to create my own opportunities. And the only way to do that is to push yourself and become that beast and do something different. But yes, I hit a breaking point. It was a low point, and I realized, okay, I got to step back, and I did. But I'm still doing what I do, just at a level that I can maintain now.
Yeah.
And I do it smarter now than back then. Back then, it was just push, help as many people as I can. What can I do to make a difference? How many people can I hire? We blew our company up way too big. I was overemployed at one point and ended up having to let a lot of people go because we just didn't do it the right way, and step back and learn from those mistakes.
That's a painful lesson.
So, it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking of something as you were talking, because I think we have a high failure rate in business in this country, especially within the first 2 years. The first 2 years are the hardest years to make it. Most businesses fail because of cash flow problems. I happen to think it's not only that, but also it breaks you down. The first 2 years of entrepreneurship, it's a grind. It really is. If you're doing it right, and if you're trying to build something that's going to last and build something that's going to be bigger than you, it's grueling. And so I think mentally it just takes so much to push through to year 3. And even in year 3, you don't believe that you're going to make it. And year 4, you're still doubting. And then year 5, you're like, okay, this is working. Like, I think, and then things start to kind of to grow. So I think then so that I believe is the hardest thing to do. And I've had people commented negatively on prior episodes because it's easy to pick this thing up or sit behind a keyboard and just be negative. But people don't have sympathy for the business owner because, they're, these wealthy people who own the businesses and they make all the money and blah, 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 blah. I happen to think owning a business is the hardest thing to do. The second hardest thing to do is to build a business bigger than you, which you talked in your book about building something that's built to last and outlive you and be bigger than you. And so the second hardest thing to do is to put those skills into people and give them the patience and the leeway to grow into who you're trying to get them to become. And you talk a lot about that, and your podcast is based on that. So tell me a little bit about, and tell the listeners what you talk about on the podcast and how you're actually not just talking about these concepts, but actually applying them successfully in the company.
Sometimes I think my podcast I do is my personal therapy to get out whatever's bugging me or I'm going through during the week. And it's true, because a lot of what I talk about is the situations I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. It's the problems, the issues that we're going through. And I think for me, it's building what I'm building and building something that's sustainable, that's going to be here for a very long time. I'm leading by example. And I want people, it's funny because I've got a couple employees right now. I swear to God, I listen to them talking. I thought, God, you sound just like me. And it's like, okay, the message is getting across. It's working. They're learning. They're getting something out of this.
Yeah.
I don't expect my employees to watch my podcast or listen to it. I recommend it, but there's no requirement for it. I think it would benefit them. I've had some of them on the episodes to talk about what they go through, what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
I think the best thing for me that is making this the most successful company, everything's working right because it's full transparency. There's no BS.
Yeah.
There's no hidden punches. There's no secret agenda. It's 100% transparent of what we're doing. We are trying to make money. We are trying to become a bigger company, but at the same time, we're trying to help our guys make money and get to where they want to be too. So I think the number one thing for us as a company, with the podcast, with everything, is being 100% transparent on what we're dealing with. When the company was struggling, and you talk about 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 5 years, we hit a 12-year point to where I think is another struggle that I think a lot of business owners don't know or don't think about. And that was the point of overconfidence and to where we ended up in a hole. I was in the hole $465,000 at one point.
Amazing.
And we pulled out of it, and we're still pulling out of it.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing is, as a subcontractor for general contractors, we're floating all the labor, the materials. Our pay is like 30, 60, 90 days out. We're at a point right now where our company is self-funding every job that we're on. We don't have credit accounts. We don't use our vendors. And that's the way most of these businesses are set up.
Yeah.
So we self-fund, self-maintain every job we're on. I don't need someone else's credit or money to do it anymore. And that's what's built this bigger, and teaching my guys this and how to do it. When we went through that, I sat the whole company down and I said, full transparency, here's what we're dealing with. Here's what we're going through. You have an option. The door's right there if you want to leave, if you think we're going to fail. And some guys left during that time. Oh, you're going to go under. You're not going to make it. And proved them wrong.
Yeah.
And
this wasn't $465,000 of debt. This was literally in the hole.
I was in the hole.
Yeah.
This is not debt.
Right.
I mean, we were at a negative.
Yeah.
And it was scary.
Yeah.
It just, and I think that at the time I got overconfident. I thought the business could run itself, do its thing. I trusted people. I had an office manager that was stealing from me. I didn't realize it. It just,
the worst.
Everything went sideways, and
worst.
I learned from this. But to get to where I'm at with the business, and this is with all these guys that are coming out of prison, and being transparent with them. Here's what I'm dealing with. John, you know what? You helped me. We're going to stay here with you. I mean, the loyalty factor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. It was a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the loyalty of these men and women, they're like, no, we're in this with you. You helped us at our worst moment. We're going to help you through this.
I mean, it's evident because, again, they're showing up once a month on a Saturday at 7 a.m. They're not required to do that.
Nope, not at all.
But they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive. Yeah.
No, it's funny. It's unfortunate. The financial one, we had the least amount of people at any of these, but there was graduations. Other people are going on vacations. Yeah. A Saturday morning, and when we do these life skills, and it's not mandatory, it's optional, I get at least 30, 35 people showing up out of our company. And it's amazing to watch. And they're invested in this. They want to be a part of this. And for me, that shows who's investing in themselves, not just the company. Because if they're investing in themselves, then I'm going to invest more in them. I'm going to help them more. Yeah. I see that they want something bigger than themselves.
So you're reinforcing that throughout the building. I mean, if you walk into your conference room, there's not only job descriptions, but there's, company vision, there's motivational quotes handwritten on the wall, right? Because you have the dry erase paint. You've got these all around, you don't know this, but I don't know, this was probably like 2 months ago. I had used the restroom, and I used the one out in the shop.
Okay.
And in the shop, you have these posters, and I took pictures of them. So, because I walked in, I was like, even in the bathroom, this guy is reinforcing this. So you've got hustle, which is a verb, the only controllable pillar of success, grind, which is a verb, to perform repetitive tasks over and over in order to retain a goal or attain a goal. And then execution, noun, stop talking and put in the work. Mm-hmm. And I love those. So I was like, take, like these things are great. But you're reinforcing that mindset everywhere throughout your business.
Yes, you have to. You can't stop.
Yeah.
It becomes, it's a lifestyle. You can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You just got to jump in and embrace it.
Yeah.
And are you going to fail? Yes. There's always failure.
Yeah.
But you learn from the failure. I embrace failure. It sounds crazy, but I want failure in my life so I can become better. Because if everything's easy and just given to you, you never learn, you never grow.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing that you may not know until you can see it, and you may never see it, is the reproductive effect that has on their life, because they're taking what you give them, they're applying it in their life. Mm-hmm. People around them notice a difference. They start to adapt to it and change a little bit. And so now you're having this multiplication effect that is bigger than just who you're employing.
It's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
It's like throwing a pebble in a pond and watching that ripple, and it just keeps going and going and going. And where's it going to stop?
Yeah.
This is going to be generational for men and women that their families, maybe it's been generational crime in prison or drug usage. This is the change that's going to change their future, their kids' future, their grandkids' future. We don't know where this ends. We don't, and you can't look at it that way, though. I mean, that is the vision that I see down the road, but I have to focus on the one right in front of me. It's that one person that needs something, that needs help. And if you can make that change in them, it's, you don't know what happens. I mentioned earlier, I'm not a religious person. I'm an agnostic. And I guess I believe everything in this world is connected on a molecular level that we will never truly understand. Mm-hmm. And you change 1 second from my past, I would not be sitting here with you today.
100%.
Call it the butterfly effect, whatever you want to call it. And we are making changes, and we are affecting the future that we can't even see right now for the greater good, as long as we're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully believe, number one, I believe that God is the greatest scientist mm-hmm. ever. And second, I believe that there's no coincidences in the universe. There's no accidents. Everything is done for a purpose. And even just how you and I met and started talking randomly, there's a reason for that. And the way that you're running your business and the people that you're impacting, there's a reason for that as well. Mm-hmm. So how can people find your podcast?
Anywhere, YouTube, anywhere, any platform out there. It's called Workforce Skills with John Morse. Feel free to look it up. Drops every Thursday morning. Josh, who does yours, does a great job for me of cleaning it up and making me look good. So I appreciate that.
You're gaining a lot of subscribers really fast too.
Yeah.
It's becoming popular.
Yes. Yeah. I'm surprised at how fast it's growing. It's funny. You mentioned some of the comments out there, and people are going to make rude comments, and those are the ones that need the most help.
Right.
But or not.
Right.
They're the ones why I'm doing this, so they can eventually change their attitude and their mentality. But
get off the internet and go be productive.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Get a book. Go buy my book on Amazon.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Do that.
Yeah. You can get it. I think it's on Kindle, paperback or hardcover.
Get it.
You know what? I never knew I could write a book. I tell people I just wrote my first book as if I'm writing a second one, and I am writing a second one. It's going to be the success of the guys that made it working for me, and the failures of other people that did not. It's going to be a good one. It's kind of a follow-up to this.
Perfect. Can't wait to read it. So. And then for someone listening who is a business owner who wants to reach out to you to learn more about how you're being effective, because one of the hardest things to do is to be a leader who makes leaders. And so if there's somebody who's wanting to learn from you, how do they reach you?
Oh, just reach out to me via email. It's johnjohn@php and then the word painting.com. I've got multiple guys that have worked for me in the past that are now licensed contractors I mentor. I'm always willing to help anybody in business do better. If there's anybody out there in business that wants to hire men and women like I do, I can get them going that right direction.
Fantastic.
And to help get them in the facility to meet these men and women.
Excellent. So. And then finally, if you're in Arizona and you have commercial property that needs painting, how do they reach you?
Oh, we'll paint it for you. Give us a call in our office, 623-900-4747. Reach out to us. We'll give you a fair proposal. We're not the cheapest. We're not the most expensive, but we're going to do the best job we can for you.
Yeah, good. You're not the cheapest. That already makes you better. So
yeah,
good. All right. Well, John, this has been fun. Like I said, we could probably go another 2 or 3 hours and, whatever, but we'll spare the listeners.
This was good. I enjoyed being on here with you.
I appreciate you coming on. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. So that's it for this episode. Until next time, go be a boss, be financially awesome. See ya. Thanks for listening to this episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. To learn more about your financial purpose, visit lifemoveswealth.com.